Hello, nomads. Hello, party people. Hello, strangers everywhere across the internet. My name is V, and today we're talking about Being Human's second series, first episode of its new season, because we already finished up season 1. And then after this month is over, you're probably going to be thinking this is the end of Being Human, but we have a special announcement when I'm done talking about the episode. But let's dive into what season 2 is culminating in, to what it was established in a mid part of the episode and near the finale of the episode. Now, from what I actually remembered from rewatching the episode, it's the small little plan of this little splinter cell of scientists trying to neutralize all the supernatural elements within London and throughout all of Britain and then soon the whole world by trying to track down all of the people that Annie's former fiance Owen reported to the police, who was then rung up by a certain splinter cell scientific division that was headed by a man called Dr. Jagged, I believe. And from there, they're trying to track down the trio, or rather quartet, as it were, because apparently George turned Nina, his girlfriend, into a werewolf during the series finale. But that's already confirmed in this episode, so it's not a spoiler. And now he's trying to help nullify all the supernatural elements around the world by tracking down these forces first, because he's thinking that it's all in God's plan to eradicate anything that's not human, thinking that humanity is the perfect creation of God. And that is a very interesting element to introduce into the show after getting rid of Herrick, the primary antagonist of Series 1. But what does that have to do with our original main cast? Not a fucking thing, because you want to know what they do mostly in this episode? I repeat, we mostly have George trying to act like he is hot shit because of what he did to make Herrick not be the main antagonist anymore. Because he's like, the vampire's after me now, I have a girlfriend, and he's doing her plot point at this moment in time, and you got nothing going on because you got this under control, they're no longer chasing you for this, da-da-da-da-da. And yet he finally has to get his shit straight when one of the vampires tracking him down tries to basically make him into her sex toy, and then tries to mold her into becoming a chaotic being. And then he finally gets down back to earth when his non-sympathetic and boorish pig-headedness finally came headway when Nina said that he turned her into a werewolf the night of no longer having Herrick as the main antagonist. So, throughout the entire episode, I'm kind of thinking to myself, George needs to stop putting his own head so far up his own ass, because this isn't him. This isn't how George is. He's not that boorish or that cocky. That was what the werewolf that he met in Series 1 is. George is a very cautious, very moral man who doesn't want to do stuff where he acts so superior to those that he knows know a lot more than what they give off. And Mitchell and Annie both seem to have that whole knowledge factor to George, who seems more sheltered by life, more secure in his own surroundings about what he wants to do, where Annie and Mitchell try to go outside of their comfort zones, even with their whole stigma being supernatural. And then we have to go into Annie's subplot, which is kind of more subdued and more natural, where she wants to get a job. That's not that bad, but the job she wants to get is to work at a pub. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I've been to enough pubs in my life to know that no ghost should work at a pub. Like, they could work at a telephone market agency, they could work as a spokeslady that travels to certain locations, they can work as, someone to come by and read stories to kids. They could be the tea maker for a shop, like being the back to make all the teas, but being in the front of a pub as the waitress girl / hostess, where in pubs people get very handsy and shit. That doesn't scream anything I would see Annie doing, but apparently it does well enough for her where her boss is laid back enough and she meets a nice guy named Saul who's trying to buy up some property around the area of Windsor Terrace.
So it's kind of like, well, Annie's got her own quirky slice of life show going on.
But what about our friendly vampire Mitchell? What is he doing throughout the entire episode since he was such an instrumental badass in series 1, being a war hero, being a blood-covered hero among vampires, where legions bowed to his merciless bloodlust. He's basically going throughout the entire episode being the guy that sees all the shit going on in the background, but he can't do anything because, like how George tried to arrogantly put it, he doesn't have anything going on. Annie's got a job, so he feels devoid of anything because the vampire's going after him. Herrick is gone. He doesn't have a girlfriend. And he has his bloodlust under control. Now, normally, if people were to say all that stuff, they're trying to say that he doesn't have anything to worry about. But the thing about George saying that to Mitchell in such a cruel way kind of sets him on a path to do something that will pay off very poorly for him in the long run of Series 2. Where he meets this one lady by the name of Lucy that works at the hospital that just transferred in. She apparently, from first glance, looks like the new girl at work, doesn't know what's going on, says all this stuff as excuses to say how she's different and why she doesn't want to be there. But from what I remember after rewatching this episode, I remembered what Lucy does in this episode, in the series, that really makes what happens with Mitchell's storyline go super dark in a way I didn't want to see happen in that way. I wanted to see it happen, sure, to see what would happen for a redemption story for him later, but the actions of what Lucy does later on worry me every time I rewatch an episode from now on because of how fucking wasted potential that was for something that could have paid off organically rather than having someone just introduced to be the niche pin into something as a pipe lay for a dark storyline that honestly could have been done more naturally rather than just what Lucy does. And I'm going to harp on that every time to just get you guys that mental image to not trust Lucy from watching the show. Whatever you do in the whole series 2, do not trust Lucy. But now we have to also talk about the new addition to the trio, making a quartet of Nina. Nina is trying to come to terms with being a werewolf. But she doesn't know how to fucking deal with anything going on. Literally, she has no idea how to deal with what's going on. She is as lost as hell. But she doesn't want to tell George until George comes back from, throughout the entire episode, having a very lustful sort of fling with a vampire lady by the name of Daisy, who came with her lover of Ivan, who just turned her to be his portable fuck buddy. After sleeping with her, after he turned into a werewolf the night before they have this talk, she finally confesses to him after he tries to say that she's trying to sleep with Mitchell, and why she can't leave because of how distant she's become. But in an organic sense that I honestly like more when it's an organic evolution of a story, she just opens up to George to just say he gave the curse to her as an analog that I've finally kind of understood about why I love being human. All of the supernatural stuff are analogs for real life conditions that go on. But follow me on this logic. When you kind of do a storyline like this where it seems like you have to be human to keep up from your condition, doesn't that kind of seem like an allegory for some kind of real life medical conditions and stuff that actually goes on? Because for my interpretation of it, werewolf lipocanthy in the being human universe would be our equivalent to having an sexual transmitted disease where it's a manageable condition for certain lengths of AIDS sort of topics, but it happens only during certain occasions where it seems like it'll be terrible for the partner. so they have to hide it from others, even though it's the most manageable condition. And I would take vampirism as, say, something involving alcoholism, where it seems like you can't control yourself and you have to be on a 12-step thing to cleanse yourself of it. And when you're on it, you just seem kind of aggressive, like you're on a high sort of drug, like bath salts, crack, and heroin, where that whole fixture, when you're on it, you don't know what your actions are as you try to tear into people, but the more you do it, the more your memories stick of it, and you're just sickened by the action. And being a ghost would be apathy and bipolarism. The apathy coming from you don't want to be seen at certain points and you want to disappear, where the bipolarism comes from where you try to exhume all of your emotions at certain points and they become so powerful that they can overlap into various abilities, and where you can just be a very vindictive person that cannot function until they find rest and answers. If that makes any sense for my own analogy. If it's not the same analogy you would come up with, listen in the comments below about what you feel like. But in all honesty, the premiere of Season 2, or Series 2 in written terms, it is a very good episode. I wouldn't say too much about it because it's just the overarching thing of what happens as the aftermath of the series finale prior. So there's not a lot to go on for, say, an analysis, except for the aftermath and what the new storyline is going to be. What is going to happen next, we're going to get into later on. But with that being said, I'm going to just close out by saying that the premiere episode of Series 2 gets an 11.8 out of 13 and a A+. And with that, you're probably thinking, since this is the end of September, that means no more Being Human and just all Merlin all Tuesdays. Well, no. 'Cause, guys, here is a big surprise announcement for you all. Because I'm trying to revamp how to do my Tuesdays and Thursdays, which is why I haven't done my Thursday reviews, I'm trying to do something a little different for my weekly videos. And it kind of dawned on me after I saw a bunch of things being popped up on Netflix that kind of seemed like the perfect matchup to do a double feature sort of thing like what I had growing up, where we had double feature theaters, double feature TV programs, and it finally came to me, guys. Double feature Tuesday and Thursdays. The only 2 days with the T in the title, so it would be like the twin review days. Tuesday and Thursdays, where on Tuesdays we will have Merlin and Being Human side by side of supernatural glory until they're both finished. That way, when both series are finished, we're gonna have another double effect episode by episode thing of 2 series I want to get into. The first one confirmed, I'm gonna say right now, is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and the second one I'm not gonna say because I want to be a surprise. And for Thursdays, we are gonna go back into doing The Walking Dead, starting from Season 2. I got a whole British mindset right now. Season 2 of The Walking Dead coming back on Thursday, starting in October, because September has been too busy focusing on countdowns and other future projects that I got to have settled right away. And the second series I got coming out for you guys is going to be something involving supernatural events as well, but in a different light. I'm trying to figure out the final show I want to do for Thursdays along with The Walking Dead, so if you have a suggestion, list it in the comments below as soon as possible before I come up with my own suggestions. Because it could be anything at random, from what I see on TV, what I see on Netflix, what I just see in general. But I hope you guys look forward to the twin review days starting in October on the second week of October. The first full week, I'm going to have a complete recuperation period to just go over all the episodes I want to review. And then we're going to start off fresh on Tuesdays and Thursdays as my hat falls off. But I still got my scarf / cap on my head, so I'm good. But anyway, guys, be sure to be cool and stay stylish. To all my nomads out there, to all my party people out there, remember to keep on grooving in that unique beat of yours. And if you're a stranger out there with a supernatural condition that you want to have handled and you still want to feel loved, make sure you join up and subscribe to become a nomad today. We are a loving group here. We are a fantastically compassionate group here. unless you're Brian or Larry. And I'm not talking about Brian or Brian, I mean Brian. Because Brian and Brian are cool and Brian's okay, but I don't like Brian. If that makes any sense to the other Brians, you all know why I hate Brian. And Larry is a fuckboy. So Brian and Larry, go fuck yourselves. So anyway guys, I'll see you guys next time in all my other future videos coming up for you real soon.